We're going to talk about how you can eat as a type 2 diabetic. Don't go away. Hey everybody, and welcome to Fat Guy Productions. I am Paul, coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And yes, indeed, in today's episode of Turning Type 2, we're going to talk about how to eat. Now, I could have talked about medicine and stuff, but the doctor's going to send you home with some kind of vague idea of how to take care of all of that. But when you get home, you're not going to have a lot of information. Oh, they might give you a nutritionist who come and will tell you about counting carbs and stuff like that. And then when you get home, you're still going to be looking and figuring out, what the heck can I eat? So today, we're going to talk about eating, and I'm going to give you 5 tips on making it a little bit easier. So it might seem kind of disingenuous to be taking dietary information from a fat guy with type 2 diabetes. But let me tell you, my trip to the hospital really put a scare into me. Not so much for my own mortality, but for my family. I hated seeing my wife have to go through all of the stuff she was dealing with because I was in the hospital. And I vowed that I was going to make some changes to my life. And part of that is sharing with you my experiences and trying to simplify things for you guys so that maybe it'll be a little bit easier if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. So today we're going to be talking about eating. Now, I was torn. Did I want to talk about medication first or eating first? And I decided on eating first because the doctor's going to hand you a bunch of prescriptions and send you packing. And while it may not be the easiest thing in the world, you're going to be able to muddle through that. But when I got home, I had to eat. And it really confused me. I did not know what to eat. They tell you have to have this many carbs, but not more than this many carbs. And they maybe give you a little class on carbohydrates. But man, they really kind of hang you out to dry when you leave the doctor or the hospital and say, take these meds, eat right, lose weight, and you'll be good. Okay, what does that mean? So I'm going to give you 5 simplified tips on how you can eat as a pre-diabetic or a type 2 diabetic and get your blood sugar down where it needs to be. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 2 little products here that you might recognize. That's right, this is a strawberry. And this is a grape. All right? A strawberry and a grape. You might think that they're the same thing, but they're not. And it's easy to assume, hey, fruit, it's good for me. I'm going to eat it. Well, you're making a huge mistake because all fruits are not created equal. All vegetables are not created equal. Almost nothing that you're going to eat or want to eat is created equal. So that's going to give me tip number 1, which is assume nothing. Okay? You can't assume that this strawberry is good to eat because it's a fruit. Just like you can't assume that it's okay to eat this grape because one of these is highly recommended and really good for you. The other one, not so much. Grapes are loaded with lots of sugars. Okay? So comparatively, this strawberry is a much, much, much better choice for you. It still has sugars in it, but those sugars are put together in the strawberry structure in a way that it's just really, really good for you, whereas the grape, it's terrible. You might eat 7 grapes, and that could end up landing you in somewhere in the range of, I don't know, say 30 carbs for like 7 grapes. And that's just not the way you want to eat. So don't assume anything. Just because it's a fruit, don't assume that you can eat it. Just because it's a vegetable, don't assume you can eat it. You can assume nothing. as a pre-diabetic or a diabetic, you have, as an adult male, you're supposed to be taking in between 60 and 75 carbs per meal. Now, as a woman or a slight man or a younger person, your number is going to be your number, and your doctor will share that information with you. If not, you need to ask. But when you're talking about 60 to 75 carbs a meal, you don't have room to be making bad choices and eating some grapes, pineapple, stuff like that. Whereas you could be eating strawberries and apples, which are both really, really good for you. Speaking of carbs, because you have this range of carbohydrates, you need to follow step number 2, which is be a counter. You need to learn how to count your carbs. Now, not enough carbs is almost as bad as too many carbs. And carbohydrates are what your body uses, and it takes those carbohydrates and converts them into sugar that it then burns for energy. So you need to have the right amount of carbohydrates in your system. If you have too few, your sugar is going to drop. So your sugar is going to be falling. Your body's going to release its reserve sugars. And once those are depleted, you're heading for a thing called hypoglycemia, which can lead to confusion, and even unconsciousness. It's a very bad thing. It's not somewhere where you want to go. So you need to be a counter so that you're getting enough of the carbohydrates without having too many of the carbohydrates. So you need to know your range, and you need to eat within it. And the only way to do that is to be a counter. Every product in the world just about has a label that shows you how many carbohydrates are in that product per serving. So you need to read these labels, and you need to first see what a serving is. A serving might be 1 cup. It might be 5 pieces. Whatever the serving is, then you can look down at the carbohydrates, and that is the carbohydrates per serving. So for instance, a bread that I like is like 12 carbs per slice. So for one sandwich, I'm investing 24 carbohydrates for one sandwich. All right, so you need to be a reader. If your product doesn't have nutritional information on it, that's the miracle of the internet. Look it up. Somewhere, somebody has given you how many carbs are in the product that you want to eat. Step number 3, and I've kind of touched on it already, is be a reader. Not just the nutritional information on the back of the bag of noodles that you're thinking about eating, but read about your illness, learn about your illness, learn about carbohydrates, learn about healthy eating. You have to get the information. It's not just going to be handed to you. Even in my videos that I'm doing for you guys, all I'm trying to do is give you some basics and a starter set that is simpler and clearer and easier for you to understand. You really need to be a reader and get the information so that you can make wise choices and not be miserable. If you're miserable, you're going to struggle with all of this. You've got to find a way to be happy, and reading will help you get there. Number 4, plan ahead. I got home, and really all I was told is I had to have between 60 and 75 carbs a meal, and then I was throwing them into the fire there, you know. And now that's not entirely true. The hospital did send a nutritionist up, and she tried to explain some things to me, but you know, she's got a limited amount of time, and there's no way you're going to have all the questions that are going to come up in your head right at that exact moment. So you're going to have to get home, and you're going to have to start making some plans. What I did is I started to go through and I started to look at some of my most important foods. And I started to gather the nutritional information on those things, such as the serving size and the amount of carbohydrates in each serving. So I like bananas. I put that down. I like steak. I put that down. I like pork. I put that down. I like white rice. I put that down. I did a comparison between white bread and whole grain bread, and I put that down. And I made this big list, and I separated it into things that are okay, things that are and things that suck and stay away from them. I planned all this out, and then that helped me make menus that I could then prepare for meals. So, for example, a great meal that I love for lunch is I have a simple bologna sandwich. It's bologna on toast, and that's where I'm getting the majority of my carbs. And then I augment that with a bowl of healthy choice soup, a nice vegetable soup or something like that. Um, and by the time I'm done, I'm right about at my 60 carbs, maybe a little bit shy of that, but not shy enough that it's a big problem. But the point is, I made a plan and I knew that I could have 2 slices of bread. I knew that I could have my bologna. I knew that I could have this soup and that I could follow it up with some fruit, either some apple slices or some strawberries or something along those lines. So plan ahead. You have to have a plan. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard for you to plan meals, trying to figure out every second, well, I really like my chili. I want to make my chili. Well, do you have any idea how many carbs are in it? You're going to have to plan ahead. How many carbs are in the can of beans? How many carbs are in the ground beef and the sauce? Ketchup. What if you have ketchup on your hamburger? Ketchup is loaded with sugars. Okay, so it's something that you need to be aware of. You need to have a plan, otherwise you're really going to struggle at mealtime. At the beginning of this episode, you saw me cooking. I was making chicken marsala. And let me tell you something, it was fabulous. It was so delicious. I was so happy with it. Well, chicken marsala could have a lot of carbs in it, but I wanted a side dish. I wanted some roasted potatoes. A potato is terrible for us. You can only have so many. So I had to take and cut the carbs right out of the chicken marsala so that I would have room for some potatoes. So I got rid of the flour. In making chicken marsala, it's very common to salt and pepper a dish of flour and dredge each chicken breast in the flour, then pan fry it. I skipped the entire flouring step and just went straight to pan frying the chicken before making the sauce. This cut the carbs dramatically, and this allowed me to have a small serving of roasted potatoes with my meal because I planned ahead. And my fifth tip is simply to not lament your situation, celebrate it. Okay, this is a chance for you to find better health. This is a chance for you to shed some of those pounds you've been wanting to drop. This is a chance for you to learn to eat better. This is a chance for you to turn your world around. So don't lament the things that you can't have. Celebrate the things that you can. I love strawberries, and so I can celebrate that I can have strawberries. I found a wonderful Gatorade that I can drink. It's got 0 grams of carbohydrates in it, and it's tasty, and I'm really happy with it. So there are plenty of things out there to be happy about. If you're just looking at it from the downside and all the things that you wish you could eat that you aren't, then you're going to struggle. It's going to be a battle every day. You're going to be walking around and you're going to see the Snickers bar over there, and you're going to be sad that you can't grab it and chow down on it. So don't do that to yourself. It doesn't help you. It's not going to help you get rid of the pounds, and it's not certainly going to control your blood sugar. So don't lament your position. Don't stress over the things you can't eat. Seek out the things that you can eat. Seek out the things that will make you happy and make this something that you can beat. Because if I can beat it, you can beat it. You just have to be in that right mindset that says, I've got this. All right, I've given you my 5 big tips for making eating a lot easier as you become a type 2 or a pre-diabetic. Now I'm going to give you a bonus tip, and that is build yourself a routine. By having a routine, it's going to make it easier for you to follow and keep compliant with all the things that you need to do. So, have a routine. For instance, I check my sugar and take my insulin every morning around 8 o'clock, and then I have my breakfast immediately following that. In the afternoon, I try to have my lunch every day around noon. And then at dinner time, I eat around 5:30, and I vary my sugar check in the evening. Sometimes I have it before, sometimes I have it right at mealtime, and sometimes I even have it later in the evening. Okay, this gives me a bigger picture of how my sugars are doing. All right, so the bottom line is you can do this. It's not that difficult. You just have to have some idea of what's going on. You need to make a plan. You need to be a reader. You need to not make assumptions like this is good because it's a vegetable, because it might not be. You need to plan ahead, and you need to be content with the things that are going on around you. And finally, you need to have a schedule of some type that you can stick to make this a lot easier. All right. In my next episode, we're going to be talking about medication. And yes, I'm going to show you how I take my medication. And so you're going to have to see my stomach, which was kind of big. And I pre-apologize for that. But it's a really important part of being a diabetic is being compliant with your medications. So we're going to talk all about that in the next video. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, click the little bell, and you'll be notified anytime I release a new video. All right, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions. I'm going to get out of here. Until next time, I hope you have an amazing, happy, healthy, compliant, pre-planned day. Until next time, be good.